Welcome back to 8 Cubes. I'm KMBest. He's Lambie Series. We've varied up our glasses schedule so you can tell the difference. This is a brand new season review of Marvel Snap. Well, at least the first week. As you can see, Spider-Man Brand New Day. His name is so long that it won't even fit on the little ticker thing that I've made on the side here, even when I abbreviate BND for Brand New Day. So, Spider-Man Brand New Day, a 1-2 with a very unique piece of text, movable twice. And then, whenever you move it, it gives +1 power to a card at the location you move it to, even if that card is face down. Now, I don't think that's like specifically going to do a bunch of cool stuff. It's like, okay, maybe that matters with Brood. Mostly what it does is just make this card easier to play. You got 2 movable cards. Maybe you want to move it early so you can trigger a Prowler or something like that. This way, the card you play on turn 2 will still get a buff of +1 power from the movability, and you'll be able to play that Prowler on 3 and get the upside that you need from it. This card, I think, is kind of a extremely high floor, extremely high ceiling card to me, where the worst this card is going to be is better than Nightcrawler, and the best this card is going to be is, do you remember when Hydra Bob came out as a 1/5 or got buffed to being a 1/5, and it was just in everything? This is a card that I feel like floor, the already powerful card Nightcrawler, ceiling, gonna be a little bit better than that, but that floor is not guaranteed. So you have to actually move him to have him be better than Nightcrawler, and you need to move him twice for him to be guaranteed better than Nightcrawler. So where is your head at on how accurate that prognostication is?
Yeah, so straight up, obviously better Nightcrawler. I mean, like it's more flexible per se for sure.
Sure.
I think this card doesn't even need to be in move decks. Like if you think, because it says movable twice, right? Then you'll be like, oh, let's put it in some like move deck. This doesn't even need to be in move decks. Like it could be the 1-drop of any deck that needs a 1-drop, because you can reallocate power. Like it's a 1/2, yeah, it's not fantastic. Maybe 1/4 after the buff, but like it's a very reallocation of power where you need to like this is one of those cards that were like, if reallocated correctly, wins you the location by like 2 points exactly, or 3 points, right? So this cheap reallocatable power, I think, is the main selling point of this card.
So we're going to talk about this a little bit later, but I feel like this card and Jeff are in similar archetypes, but by virtue of this card being a 1 cost, it is just going to be better than New Jeff.
Yes.
And the big question for me is, okay, first of all, as a 1 cost card, it can now go in my Storm Horseman of Famine Surfer deck. Great. That's happening day 1. Second of all, as a 1 cost card, is it replacing something like Nightcrawler in my Supergiant deck? Because I do think it's definitely going to go in the buff decks with Storm. It's definitely going to go in the buff decks with Venus. As long as they're already playing a 1-drop, that 1-drop is very often Nightcrawler right now. But what am I getting out of it in a deck that doesn't care at all about the text and is just playing it because it's a good card?
I mean, you can't exactly never care about the text, right? Because it does add stats, you know. So I think it can easily replace Nightcrawler. I'm just gonna say, like, I think this can very easily replace Nightcrawler in decks that already run the Nightcrawler. You don't build around this card. This card is just there to fit into your deck, right? So I think that's one thing that we have to get around very, very clear. Like, this is not like a new card that you build around. This is like a card that fits into existing shells.
Next up, Mary Jane, an end of turn card that gives +1 power to all of your cards that moved on that turn. This looks like some sort of alternate Hydra Stomper to me.
Yeah.
But unlike Hydra Stomper, you have to play it first. And I guess also, unlike Hydra Stomper, its points are distributed over multiple locations.
This is so much worse than Hydra Stomper.
Right, because like that would normally be good. Normally, if you were like, here's a card that's distributed across multiple locations, I'd be like, okay, that's probably better than if it was just going really tall. But the move deck is already so good at distributing across multiple locations, it doesn't need that. What the move deck needs is a card that is incredibly efficient in terms of going vertical from one space. And Hydra Stomper is better at that. And so you end up with this card where it's just like, okay, it's worse than Hydra Stomper at this, it's worse than Hydra Stomper at this, it's worse than Hydra Stomper at this. What is it better than Hydra Stomper at doing?
I mean, it's not. So I mean, there are worlds whereby you get a huge spread of power across the locations if you move a lot of cards. But like, is it ever gonna be worth giving up? Not, I wouldn't say giving up. Is it gonna be ever worth playing this in your deck? Like, it's the slots, right? It's so tight. Like that deck has like so many core pieces, so many things that make the deck powerful. Where are we fitting this is the question. Like, this is it's like if this were to go into that mid-rangey Hydro Stomper-ish shell, like what's it being replaced? What's it replacing? Because like everything else feels like super integral.
Yeah, the only things I can think of with this card are
Difficult.
like, okay, it's an end of turn. Is there anything I can do with that? Am I able to do like this and Venus and Invisible Woman first steps and then just like Heimdall my board
It's
or
plus
something?
two, right?
It sounds
Yeah.
horrible, right? Well, it'd be +4, right? If I had Venus,
Give
the end of
each other.
turns would
Yeah,
happen
yeah, yeah, yeah.
twice. It's like, okay, that's like kind of cool. Like, is there like a world where I'm just plus like, am I playing like this stuff in a surfer deck and then my surfer alternate is just I have like a combo with Heimdall? Like
Yeah, so see
that's
that's the thing, right? Like we just listed like a list of things that have to happen.
yeah.
Usually what this means is you turn your deck into flexible points into I must win this way and I have
Yes.
to only win this way. And that's a problem, right? With Marvel Snap decks. Like you cannot turn your deck into flexible turn a flexible deck into I can only win if all these things happen in order. So that's the issue here.
Aunt May is the card on the 6,000 token series 5 for week 1 and she's really interesting, but it's hard to
Yeah.
tell how good she is because Aunt May is a sort of Marvel Boy-esque card in that she's a very powerful card on its face, but maybe not necessarily for a very powerful archetype. Aunt May is a 2/3. When you use a movable ability on the board, a movable card in hand gets -1 cost and +2 power. And the reason this is such a specific thing is there really aren't that many good movable cards to put in your deck. I'm going to give you a list of like several of them. Nightcrawler, the new Spider-Man, Vision, Nocturne, both Jeffs were kind of out of cards. And
Yep.
so the one thing that this card does do is I think it hooks into the Sam Wilson industrial complex, which is to say, I think Sam Wilson's shield moving triggers this every turn. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's awesome. But Sam Wilson can't get the buff. And you need to have enough of the cards in hand that you want to get the buff to get the buff. And it's like, first of all the ones of those that I want to play are already cheap. I already want to play them. They're already cheap. All my cards are cheap. I'm not really benefiting hugely from discounting those cards. It's nice, but it's not like amazing. I'm really here for the points. And the second thing is, I believe that there's a world where I can play like a Batroc style deck with Sam Craven and this. But then you get to the point, it's like, okay, what am I cutting? What am I cutting
Mm.
to get not just Sam Craven in this, but now I've got Nightcrawler in there. I've got Nightcrawler and Spider-Man Brand New Day. I've got maybe a Jeff. I've got maybe a Nocturne. That's like 6 cards.
So this card is interesting to me because I can see this being a very powerful card for not the reasons that okay, so basically you discount a movable card in hand and give it power. That's good, right? That's the good part of the effect. But like you realize that what this does is just basically turn your deck or your hand into like a turn 6
Yep.
like stat dump kind of thing. Because the movable part doesn't matter. Like whatever you're discounting doesn't get to move, right? Like it's just discounted stuff that you want to dump on the final turn. So I guess that's fine because the movable restriction is just to not make this card super busted. Like, can you imagine if it just says
It
like
would be
discount
super
any card?
busted the other way,
Exactly.
yes.
So they gave it discount only movable cards, I guess, just to like nerf it before it
I
releases
think it's the
broken or
other way. I
whatever.
think this card started as a movable synergy card. And then they
Okay.
were like, how do we make people do that? Right? Because like you look at the way the season is designed, it's about like Spider-Man's a movable card. So
Yep. Yep.
Aunt May's a movable card. Mary Jane hooks into it. So they were like, we want support for the effect movable. How do we make that happen? So I think it went the other way,
Right.
but it arrived at a very similar point.
Yeah, so it's basically just everything discounted in your hand just ends up being like the final turn stat dump, which is kind of cool because your opponent actually doesn't know what is discounted, what gains power. So I can see it, right? Like, can you imagine like enough stuff have moved like with Anmei on the board, and then you get like a final turn, like you can play like 8 mana worth of stuff
Yeah.
instead of like the usual just 6. It's a lot of stats, but it's just whether it's worth it. Because like -1 cost +2 is not a lot. Like let's be honest, if it's not
Yeah.
multiplicative, right? So minus one cost, and then maybe you play, instead of playing 2 things on the final turn, you get to play 3. Could be something.
Yeah, it's just a question of like whether it's worth removing the other cards from it. Because like I would rather play Batroc and Craven than this, I think, a lot of the time. So it ends up being the third best Sam Wilson bot. But putting a bunch of movable cards in my deck is good for Craven. Spider-Man Brand New Day, especially because he can move in and then move out, right? So I don't know. I could see this being a big piece of a good Batroc deck. I think it's definitely the biggest reason to try to build a Batroc deck like that. But I still think you're a Batroc deck.
Yeah.
Before you're this.
The perfect curve of this deck is really interesting because, like you just mentioned Batroc, Craven stuff. These guys want to be on the board, right? They want to be on the board. So like those are not the things that you want to discount anyway. Discounting them and playing them late doesn't really do anything. They want to be on the board and like jump around. So the stuff that you discount is like what, like you said, vision.
Well, you won't even be able to discount those anyway, right? Because they don't have movement.
Yeah, you can't because they have to be on the board, right?
Well, also
like, and they want to grow on the board.
She can't hit them.
Yeah, I know.
But like
they gotta be on the board. Like they have to be on the board and they want to grow on the board. So like what is this card actually discounting is what I'm trying to say.
Nocturne. You're gonna play like a big Nocturne on the board. You're gonna get like what you're actually doing with this card, I think, is you play Sam Wilson in this card, and then your Nocturne is just a 0/11. It's like kind of the premise.
That's the ideal world, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. You actually just want to make a 0 cost big move guy like one. You don't want multiple
like
spreads. You want
0,
one big 0 cost whatever.
And like, look, a 0/11 is pretty good, man. Like,
yeah, of course.
You want bad.
You want a scar. You want a scar. Is it scar? Yeah, scar. You want a scar.
It's like it's close enough to Scar. Scar's 12 now, but whatever. It's like somewhere between Scar and Mockingbird and Monstro, but 0/11. It's not bad. Talking about discounting stuff, Namarita came out last week at 3/5 that if she's on her own at the location she's at, whichever one that is, cards you draw get -1 cost. I don't think she's amazing. She's like a card that I think is like, there are two kinds of mid. There's like good mid and bad mid. And good mid is when I think you're like not like the best option, but like a genuinely useful card in a deck where like maybe you're the 6th best card, but you're doing something that no other card can. You're kind of irreplaceable to the concept of the deck. And then there's bad mid, which is like, you're not going to be punished for putting this card in your deck. It's good enough that you can just get away with it. But I have not played a single Namarita deck where I think it's like, wow, this is a card that the deck is built around. She's just there and she's pretty okay. And she's got a lot of competition in a world of 3/5s that are there and pretty okay. And I think that ultimately she doesn't measure up to her competition.
Yeah, I mean, her competition is mostly cards that are okay to be not drawn on turn 3, right? Like, you think about it. Like, this one wants to be drawn and played on turn 3, like, no questions asked, because, like, every one later turn you discount something, is one less card you actually discount, right? Instead of discounting 3 cards, you discount 4, even 1. And then you don't even know if you're discounting a card that's going to be played, right? So, yeah, this card is, like, mid, not a bad card kind of mid, but will stay mid for... I mean, Marvel's is just going to print, like, more broken cards. So, like, this card's probably going to stay mid for, like, ever.
The fastest topic we've ever done there with the Namarita review. I almost feel bad. We missed the Submariner review last week, so I'm going to knock that one out right now real quick. Again, like, this is the difference between good mid and bad mid, where Submariner is good mid. He's like a card that if you want to play that deck, you do want to get Submariner. You might not want to play that deck. It's not like the best deck in the game, but it's a deck you can play. Whereas Namarita bad mid, where it's just a very different kind of card that's like generic, but not good enough at being generic, such that like, I'd rather play Kraglan, I'd rather play Copycat, I'd rather play, name a bunch of cards, I'd rather play New Nocturne, right? Like a bunch of stuff, yeah? And so you end up with a card that like I think Submariner is a great example of good mid, where he is totally irreplaceable, but he in the deck that he actually wants to go in. He's like actually just good. And in absolutely 0 other decks is he good. But there is a deck that actually wants him, where Namarita is just like the world's most replaceable card. There are no decks that want her, but a lot of decks that are okay with her. And that's really all I have to say about Mr. Ocean Wide.
Yeah, I mean, like honestly, this card, when I first saw this card, I was actually very hyped for this card, right? Because like at the end of the day, you're just generating more playable things. Like you're generating like a 1 cost that's like buffed. I mean, like you don't really care what it is. It's just like semi-free because you're buffing anyway, right? It's just like semi-free, and one additional slightly bigger 1 cost guy fits into like many curves. So it just kind of works. Like it's similar to the whole like what's the card called? Like the Spider-Man we talked about earlier, right? It's cheap, it's like reallocation of power. This one really isn't reallocation of power, but you get another one cost guy that's easy to be fit into wherever you need to fit it. So I like the card, man.
Which brings us to Jeff retrospective, where I think it's reasonable to describe Jeff as a bit of a letdown after the first
Yeah.
month of his release. And I thought
thought
that
it was
was
gonna be good.
possible. I thought it was possible, but mostly because I thought, like, in as much as Jeff is a letdown, there's actually only one card you can really blame, and that card is Storm Horseman of Famine. Because if that card didn't exist, Jeff wouldn't be a letdown. It's actually that simple. If that card didn't exist, Jeff would be in the best surfer, or non-surfer, really, combo deck in the game. And he just wouldn't be the level of letdown that he is. But because that card does exist, and because it conflicts so heavily with Jeff, he's worse than he should be. And Jeff's a good card. He's in a lot of stuff, but he's definitely occupied a space more at the top of tier 2 than at the top of tier 1. And I think that it's worth pointing out how much context dictates this. Like, Jeff Venus would be the premier way to do that kind of stuff if Storm Horseman didn't exist and wasn't better at doing it. And I think Namarita's also secretly another Storm Horseman victim, where I'm doing this, like, I'm playing, a surfer deck with Namarita and Sarah and Mother Ascani and all that stuff. And every time I do that, I just rather play Storm Horseman on 3. Every single time I play it.
A lot of the cards that are released recently, or actually even in the future, it might probably be this case. Like a lot of them tend to end up playing second fiddle to something that already exists, right? Like unless it's the completely new busted version that everyone will play second fiddle to in the future. Other than that, a lot of these cards fit. Yep, a lot of these cards fit into the same mode of like if A didn't exist, we would play this card, or because A exists, there's no reason to play this card. Like I think this is an ongoing problem that will not be able to be solved easily, because it's like, okay, when I print a new green power card, right? Same thing. It's gonna be worse than like the others that we've already had. Unless it's the new boss, then everything's gonna be worse than this one. So like there's no way around it, I feel like, because these it's just the way cards are right now.
The other card games solve this with rotation. But Marvel Snap's economy is such that I don't know if you could do it. Like, I think if you proposed rotation, everyone would just
we
be
should
like,
totally have made the last topic rotation. But
I genuinely just think that there's nothing to even say. I think if someone even mentions the word rotation, half the player base is like, it's time to storm second inner headquarters, right?
Yeah, no, Reddit will be in multiples of 6,000 tokens, man.
Yeah.
Like they'll be counting in 6,000s. You guys already know.
I think, and to be clear, I don't think they'd be wrong to do that. I just think it's just that's reality, right? Like the economy of this game is such that it is not conducive to rotation. It just isn't. 2 decks have begun to diverge recently. The first is Victoria Hand, which is what we're going to talk about first. Victoria Hand is sort of split into 2 decks. The first is a Sasquatchy combo version of the deck, which is similar to Lee Hand, but more all in, really just going for like, I'm going to do a combo-oriented level of points at you on this final turn of the game. I am getting 15 power Sasquatches. I am playing a bunch of them. I am vomiting my whole hand. I have that in addition to a bunch of other stuff. And if you play the card that beats me, Mobius, I lose. And that is, to be honest with you, it's my preferred way of playing the deck. I think it's a lot more fun. I enjoy it a lot more. And I think it's a little bit more powerful. But there is a secondary way, which is as a full tech deck, which has been running around recently near High Infinite. I think I saw Andrevar on it, and there was a player in main court who was on it as well in like top 10. And I've been playing it recently. I don't know. Last I checked, I was 16. I haven't opened the game today, but that, like, people are playing this deck in high ranks. And it's like Scarlet Witch, it's Stardust, it's Shadow King. I had a game against the Zombie Galactic gamer where I made 3 Shadow Kings, which is just the most evil thing you can do to someone like that. Like, it's one of those decks, right? Man. It's one of those decks where you're just like, stop having fun. You're not allowed to have any fun here. And I think it's actually like a pretty big divergence in Victoria Hand, because that deck is actually more of a spiritual successor to the TOV tech decks. That build of the deck is trying to occupy that space, whereas the combo deck is trying to occupy a very different space. But they're the same archetype, even though, and what I'm bringing up here is, I don't think we should be talking about them like they're the same archetype. Even if like 8 of the cards are the same, these two decks play so completely, totally different that to think of them both as Victoria hand and imagine a sort of matchup matrix composed of them mixed together would be totally inaccurate to either of them individually.
Yeah, no, it's literally two different things, right? One is trying to like anti-meta, the other one's trying to just vomit points. Like
Yeah.
it's totally different. Like I can see why the tech version is doing way better at higher ranks as well, because like it's always the case, right? Like it's
Stop
always
having
like
fun, bro.
yeah, it's always like mid-range decks, and then adding the tech card that wins the other card decks. Like that's just like the recipe for like a winning deck at top infinite. It's always like this. But yeah, no, I feel like Victoria hand in general, it's just the way the deck the card is, right? Like if you're like multiplying stuff, you either multiply the one that gives you tons of power, multiply the stuff that stops giving people power, or like curbs the power. Like at the end of the day, there's actually no restriction if you think about it. Like you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. It's just that like one of it probably like is a bit better than the other depending on the meta you're in.
She's just a good supplemental power thing. But this does sort of bring me to a card that I am starting to believe has become an even more serious problem. And I don't
Okay.
know how true this is in balance perspective, but Gambit Horseman of Death just sucks, dude. Like, he just sucks. like, I know, I get it. I do think he was nerfed. I think all of these decks would be better if he was a bigger, destroying more stuff. But like, wow. This is
No,
unpleasant.
it's a huge difference. Yeah, it's a huge difference.
The
I
biggest
forgot what
thing.
I said exactly
Hmm.
about the card after the nerf. Like I was trying to like compare it to something. I know I said that the nerf is not really just like a on paper nerf. Like a lot of it changes, right?
Yeah.
Like because you're not destroying as many, like what's the word? Like you're not destroying, like the amount you're destroying changes so much just because of that one small nerf. You get
Right.
what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
here's my contention. Okay, let me see if I can walk through this in a way that like gets the thing in my brain into words,
Yeah.
because I'm envisioning a picture right now and I'm not sure I can get it into words.
Okay. Paint it.
Yes. Okay, so the gap between old Gambit and new Gambit is like it got 10% worse, right?
Yeah.
A little bit worse.
On paper.
But no, I think it actually did. But
Okay.
the amount it got better from them decoupling TOV from Mobius, which is the best card in the game against V-hand decks, is more than that 10%. That's my
Right.
contention. Like, I think that in an absolute sense, previous Gambit is stronger. But in a relative sense, compared to the rest of the metagame, the decks that play Gambit are stronger now.
Right.
That's my theory.
Wait, what? Why are the decks that play Gambit
Because
stronger
Mobius
now?
is gone.
Right.
They got rid of
Right.
TOV was a Mobius deck. That was like that it is actually so impossible.
Okay, so you're saying it's because TOV got nerfed.
Yes.
That's why we're in this scenario.
But like got nerfed in the specific way that it did. Because it got
Right.
nerfed in a way that made it no longer a Mobius deck and made like 30% of the metagame no longer Mobius decks.
Right.
It's
That makes
so
sense.
hard to get multiple Gambits if you're not Mobiusing. If you're not
That's true.
discounting stuff, you're not triggering those cards. Like you're just not,
That's
you're not doing it, right? Like it is really difficult. You are never going to get 3 Gambit Horsemen if you are not discounting. It is not happening.
Fair.
And Mobius was keeping them in line effectively. And so my theory is basically that it was a nerf. I firmly believe that the decks would be better right now if old Gambit was here. They'd be even stronger. But the amount the nerf was done by was not enough because I don't know that they anticipated how much Mobius was holding that card back. Like if they just looked at numbers and they were like, this card's not that broken, but it kind of sucks. The reason it wasn't that broken was because everyone was playing Mobius. And now nobody's doing that. The Surfer divergence has, I think, basically fully happened. Captain Carter combo and Surfer are now just like totally different decks. The Captain Carter combo deck we've all talked about here. The Surfer deck I did a video on recently, the Surfer Sarah deck. And I mentioned Surfer Sarah because like I think that would just kind of make Lambie chuckle. But like that is what I've been playing. I gained like 100 SP with Sarah Surfer. And it's indicative of just how good this metagame is and also of how nobody's playing Mobius and Mobius that I can play some crap.
That's why you can play Sarah on 5.
Dude, I like the whole deck is Namarita on 3 and then Mother Ascani on 4, Sarah on 5,
Around
and then just
5,
play
dump
6
everything on
dudes.
6.
Like,
Yep.
that's
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Like, it's the whole
That is so
deck.
2023, man,
Yes.
when one mana lizard was the king. Like, it's the same
Yes.
thing.
I thought you get a kick out of it. That like
Yeah, I got
people
it,
were
straight
able
up.
that like you can play this and it's actually kind of functional because anything that's
Mobius
like
doesn't
cheating enough
exist.
points in playing a Shadow King is just chill. Like you just
Yeah.
do whatever. Like as long as you're doing enough stuff and playing at least the Shadow King, you're probably like 50% into anything. You know, like it's fine. You'll be able to win some games. And that's this is a really good metagame, but I do want to put my foot down on this. Captain Carter combo and this Surfer deck could not be more different in how they play. Captain Carter combo plays like a board-based combo deck, closest to Invisible Win First Steps. The Sarah Surfer deck is honestly closer to like Doom 2099 than it is to anything else. Your plays
Wait, why
are all
Doom 2099?
because your plays are
Why
all on
Doom?
rails. It's just like this. I have like 40 points to end a game. What's up?
Oh, okay. So it's
Yes,
linear for like
linear.
a few turns and then you stat up.
You do
right?
one
Yeah.
thing. You do one thing. It is literally just like if I you know those memes from competitive Pokemon for like I think it's like Mega Beedrill or whatever. It's like
I have no idea, man.
I don't do anything. If I show up on the board, I will sweep or I will lose. The only thing I do is win games or die. And I think that that's kind of how the Sarah deck plays right now. It's like, I don't do anything other than this. I have one plan. Either I show up and play 6 cards on the final turn of the game or I lose.
Yeah. No, it's so indicative of like actually, so I really do get it right now because it's really like those old Sarah decks, right?
New
Like the
metagame,
old
yeah.
Sarah decks. If the Sarah doesn't drop on 5, right? Like the difference is so big.
Very
Like
large.
the difference in turn 6 is huge, man. Like because the thing about these kind of decks is like you're generally being very understated on the like the first few turns, right? Sarah's understated. Madagascar is not exactly great stats. Namarita is not great. None of these are amazing. But because they lined up, your turn 6 is amazing. But when they don't, your turn 6 is
Nothing.
Giga Vanilla. Yeah.
It's a fun deck though. I really enjoyed it. Like there's no way it's as good as it felt for me because it is a 2023 ass deck. I put that
Yes.
on Twitter. I was like, "There's no way this deck's good," and someone was like, "What do you mean? There's no way this deck's good?" Like,
Just
well,
draw Sarah,
it's
man.
2023, man. I'm allowed to make jokes about it. I love Sarah. My whole logo is Sarah. My all people don't know this. All of the pictures of me were drawn by an artist by the name of PD Kane,
Okay.
who drew me as Sarah. As specifically, I believe it was based on Flaviano Sarah, but I don't actually
Flaviano
know
Sarah,
if
yeah.
that.
The one with the huge X, right? In
Yes, the one with the giant axe.
Yeah, I have
She
the- I
has
have
to
the
ask
video
you a
actually.
question. Yeah. No,
Yes.
I that was what like so like all of my branding is just that. He was like, "Yo, I want to do that." He did all my emotes. I paid him, obviously. And but it started with him making a piece of fan art for me. And I was like, "That's awesome. Can I pay you to do this stuff instead?" And I haven't changed it in 4 years. So I love Sarah, dude. I don't want anyone to accuse me of not loving this card.
I mean, we're digressing a bit, but I do remember, like, I don't remember how many years back this was. Like, you were so hyped when they announced that they're going to release the Flaviano.
Yes,
because
dude.
there wasn't like on at the start. It was like something like relatively
Yeah,
like
it came out as an
midway
ultimate.
Snap's lifetime or something.
Yeah, it came out as an ultimate variant. So it was well
Yeah.
into the token shop lifetime.
Yeah, I remember. I bought it as well.
Last up, the Spider Tournament. Details are scarce right now, but they did announce it in the season blog. What we do know is that there is a planned tournament for the Spider season that seems to be similar to the Snowball Showdown. And that is a very interesting thing. I think that this could be a cool thing or a not so cool thing, because Snowball Showdown was cool and fun for me, but I do think that the competitive player base didn't necessarily love everything about it.
So, okay, so I really think this kind of so Marvel Snap has never been the most premier when it comes to like competitive like esports gaming or whatever, right? But like these kind of events actually fit with what Marvel Snap wants to do. I feel like ban. Okay, I don't even want to call it ban list tournaments, but I guess it's literally a ban list tournament. Like diversity. It shows the diversity within the game, right? Like it lets lets people be creative. It lets people like experience new. I would even call it a new like game mode per se. Like just lets people be a bit more like Like have fun with like new temporary restrictions, you know. And I think Marvel Snap actually can do this very well as a game because there's so many different avenues you can do it from, right? Like this case, it's the spider tour. In the next season or other seasons, it's gonna be like another like theme, you know. So like it fits with the whole theme thing that Marvel Snap keeps going for. That's all I gotta say.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I've been KMBest. He's been Lambie Series, and he's about to take us out.
All right, guys, like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye.